Hello viewers, I am Dr.E.Srinivas Rao, Assistant Professor of English, Government Degree College, Janagaon. Today we are going to discuss a very important and interesting topic, English for competitive examinations. When we talk about competitive examinations, most of the students get confused because learning English for general purposes is entirely different from learning English for competitive examinations. When we are learning English for general purposes, whether it is for general semester end examinations or year end examinations, the purpose will be different. But when we are preparing for competitive examinations, we have to be a bit very careful because each and every item plays a very crucial and important role, and we should be it's a time bound and conscious program. And competitive examinations is a tense prone area. Most of the students today get confused about the competitive examinations because when students are appearing for competitive examinations, they have to concentrate on time factor, punctuality, which is related to time factor, and the specific items that are going to be asked in the examination. When we take up English, for example, correction of sentences, common errors, which is also called as common errors, is the most sought after, most important and significant area which is covered in almost all competitive examinations, right from Group 4 examination, police recruitment to UPSC civil services examinations. And the idea is to be focused, and when we discuss this topic, correction of errors, or point out the errors in the part of the sentence, when we talk about competitive examinations and correction of errors, ways of asking will be entirely different. In one examination, correction of sentences, though the same topic is there, way of asking will be different from one examination to the other examination. For example, when we take up IBPS examination, which is related to the Banking Service Recruitment Board, for recruiting employees in banking sector, the mode of asking will be different. A sentence is divided into different parts labeled as A, B, C and D. And students are expected to point out in which part the mistake lies or the error lies. Unless the student has got a complete idea about the structure of the sentence and the meaning of the sentence, it's not possible to identify where the mistake lies. So when we discuss the area of mistakes, the errors where the students tended to make are related to various areas in English. For example, mistakes may be related to parts of speech, right, starting from nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, conjunctions and interjections, prepositions. These are all the different kinds of areas where most of the students tend to make errors. Each topic is equally important. We cannot say that one topic is more important than the other topic. When we talk about common errors in English, common errors are likely to occur with regard to nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, conjunctions, interjections, prepositions, articles, tenses and various other misuse of words also occur with regard to the common errors in English. So that is why with the very topic entitled common errors in English is related to the whole grammar and whole English language for that matter. And if we take a simple topic like let us confine ourselves to nouns for that matter. When the point of errors with regard to nouns arises, it may be related to the singular plural formation, or when they are used as the subjects or objects of a sentence, or certain words like don't have any plural forms, means furnitures informations, luggages, sceneries, poetries, imageries. Usage of such forms is wrong in English. Many students tend to use the plural forms for them, and once it is understood that these nouns or words don't have plural forms, we should bear in mind that they are not followed by a verb which is being used for plural forms. They are always followed by a singular helping verb or a main verb. Let's take one example let's look at this sentence for example. The furnitures of this house are wonderful. We have already stated that the word furniture doesn't have a plural form. We have taken it in the plural form here. In most of the competitive examinations, based on this point, sentences will be given. For example, the furnitures of this house is the subject of this sentence. Most of the students tended to understand that this is a plural form, but it is wrong because the word furniture doesn't take a plural form. Once it is understood that this does not have a plural form, it should also be followed by a singular helping verb like is, not are. It should be corrected as the furniture of this house is wonderful. Then this becomes a right sentence, this becomes a wrong sentence. So this sentence is based on the rule that is related to the words, nouns like furniture, information, luggage, scenery, poetry and imagery. We can make use of the other words like informations, luggages, sceneries, poetries and imageries and form wrong sentences, and we can at the same time correct them. For example, if this sentence is taken, the same sentence, mode of asking will be different from one examination to the other examination. Let's take one more example like the informations have been passed on to the students who are associated with the college. This sentence, for example, as I have just said in the other example, mode of asking will be different from one examination to the other examination. If we take this example for that matter, this sentence will be divided into different parts labeled as A, B, C and D. The students or candidates are expected to point out where the error lies. This kind of questions will be asked in banking service examinations or RRB examinations. Unless the student has got an idea about the whole rule that is associated with these words or usage of these words, he cannot point out where the error lies. Let's see how this sentence can be divided into different parts labeled as A, B, C and D. The informations can be stated as A. This can be labeled as B. This can be labeled as C. This can be labeled as D. This sentence, rather a big sentence, is divided into 4 different parts. The student is expected to identify where the mistake lies. The alternatives will be given in some examinations. In certain answers, both A and B will be right. In some answers, both C and D will be right. In some answers, only A will be right, or B will be right, or C will be right, or D will be right. And we have to identify. Unless the student has got a complete idea about the usage of these words or nouns, he cannot identify. If you take this example for that matter, the mistake lies in both A and B. Because the word information does not have a plural form, so usage of this word as informations is wrong. And another thing is, the word information is a singular. Since it is a singular form, it is followed by has been, not has been, have been. It should be has been, not have been. So both A and B, in both the parts mistake lies. If alternatives are given like this, Student is expected to identify whether 1, 2, 3, 4. Among the 4 alternatives, he has to identify in which 2 parts the mistake lies. As I have just stated, the word informations is wrong. A part is wrong. Information has to be passed on is the right sentence. That is where the mistake lies in both A and B part. The right sentence is the information has been passed on to all the students who are associated with the college is the right sentence which is related to this one. So, this is said to be the right answer. Right answer implies here that in both A and B part mistake lies. This is one mode of asking. We can take a number of examples like this as we have just quoted. Mode of asking will be different from one examination to the other examination. Based on the same rule, we can also frame these kinds of questions. Find out the grammatically correct sentence among the following 4 sentences, or identify the grammatically correct sentence among the following 4 sentences. Based on the same rule, for example, the poetries of John Keats are based on nature. This is one example. Alternatives, one among the 4 alternatives. The sceneries of Simla draw everyone's attention. This luggage is very heavy for me to carry. These furnitures are imported. If we take these 4 examples, as we have just learned that the words poetries, sceneries, luggage, furnitures, poetry, sceneries do not have a plural form. It should be poetry, not poetries. So this sentence is said to be a wrong one. The sceneries is not there. So this sentence is said to be a wrong one. Luggage is used in singular form. So it is a correct sentence. This luggage is very heavy for me to carry is said to be the correct sentence among the 4 alternatives, because this is also wrong. These furnitures are imported is also wrong, because furnitures cannot be used as plural form. So we can choose this one as the grammatically correct sentence among the 4 alternatives. This is one mode of asking. On some other cases, what happens, instead of taking the 4 sentences which are related to the same rule, that is nouns, the other sentences, a sentence may be taken from nouns, another sentence may be taken from pronouns, and one more sentence may be taken from adjectives. This sentence may be taken from tenses or verb forms or conjunctions. Based on all rules of grammar also, these types of sentences are likely to be asked in competitive examinations. We have to bear in mind that questions are different from one exam to the other examination. We have to be very careful as far as the rules are concerned, because grammar is such thing where every rule plays a very important role. If we write is instead of or instead of is, in some cases the sentence will be wrong. We have to be very careful and very alert on the alert time-bound program like competitive examination. Let us take one more example which is related to pronouns for that matter. Here we have 2 groups of words, each other, one another. They are said to be reciprocal pronouns in English. Each other is used only for 2 persons, and one another refers to more than 2 persons. And in a number of cases, students or candidates in competitive examinations or in general usage also, they make a number of mistakes. They use each other instead of one another, or one another instead of each other. See, for example, father and mother should understand one another. It is a sentence where we have only 2 nouns, father and mother. Father and mother are 2, that is why it is not followed by one another. They take each other. It should be corrected like this. Father and mother should understand each other, not one another. Once this rule is understood, as we have just quoted in the previous examples, based on this rule, sentences may be asked in different modes or different ways. That is what we have to bear in mind. For example, we have to understand that it's a wrong sentence. As we have just quoted, the 4 members of the committee, the 4 members is more than 2. So it is not followed by each other. The 4 members of the committee have to understand one another, not each other. Based on this rule, sentences may be asked in different modes, as we have just quoted. Or identify the sentence where the mistake lies, labeling as A, B, C, D, or find out the grammatically correct among the 4 alternatives, or identify the grammatically correct among the following 4 sentences, or we can also ask the students to rewrite the following sentence where the mistake lies, correcting the underlined part, correcting the italicized part, or something like that. It may be asked in different ways. Understanding of rule is more important. Once that concept is framed in the mind, however the question is asked, students can easily identify and rectify. They correct their mistakes and rewrite the correct sentence in a correct mode wherever it is required, whether it is in spoken communication or in written communication, because framing of the concept in mind is very important as far as these grammar rules are concerned. Once the rule is framed in the mind, however the sentence is given, whatever may be the type of the sentence, he will be able to answer it within a quick fraction of the seconds. It doesn't take much time. Because once if the rule is not framed in the mind, the students go on thinking about it for a long time. Just by looking at the sentence only, he should be able to pick out where the mistake lies, so that he can also save a lot of time. Time factor is a very important thing in competitive examinations. It doesn't, he will not be given enough time to think over a sentence. Within the given time, within the short span of time, students should be able to identify and answer the questions. Because once he saves the time in a particular question, he can spare the same time for other questions. He has to attempt a number of questions within a short span of time where he will be able to answer them very quickly and overcome the problems, face the examination without any kind of fear and tension, confidently, and then he will get through the examination. He is also likely to be selected. In competitive examinations, students have to bear in mind that 1 mark also plays a very crucial role. We have instances of students where some students get job with a margin, at a margin level, by missing 1 mark, for example. If a student gets 1 more mark, he'll be getting a job. If a student gets 1 less mark, he will not be getting job. 1 mark is also going to decide and determine the future of a candidate. And that is what we have to bear in mind. Where that 1 mark goes, we cannot predict. And that's how we have to bear in mind that each and every point is very important as far as grammar of English is concerned. Because we don't know what kind of questions are going to be asked in the examinations, and what mode of asking is going to be in the examinations. And keeping all these factors in view, concept framing is a very important aspect where the students have to understand and concentrate. Framing the concept, framing the rule, understanding the rule, and practicing, taking up a number of examples, and through practice, by making use of them in spoken communication and written communication, students can easily overcome that problem and face any kind of challenges, whether it is on days or in examination, oral communication, written communication, or anywhere for that matter. This is what I want to put forth here through these very few examples like this in competitive examinations. Common errors in English.